Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast of your favorite tanking team in the Bay Area. And the Sharks lose in overtime. Erik Karlsson gets a point. Danil Gushchin looks like the real deal. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm your host, JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Make sure you guys follow for free wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. That way you know when the latest episode is about to drop. Spoiler, they come on YouTube first. So the Sharks lose in overtime for the 1,000th time this season. That is not hyperbole. I counted. They've lost 1,000 times in overtime this year. At least it feels like it this season. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Danil Gushchin. Erik Karlsson's pursuit takes one step closer to his 100-point season. Kaapo Kahkonen, another strong night from Kaapo Kahkonen. So before we get into all that, do want to let you know this episode is brought to you guys by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. All right, let us start. Let's start with the positives from this game. And I think you have to point to the young guys. And I'm going to start with Danil Gushchin, who just looks like he belongs. Now, I don't think next year he will be starting this season on the Sharks roster, and I would like to see him kind of go back and kind of take that next step with the Barracuda next year and kind of be the guy down there. And I think he's got a chance to do that next year. But since the Barracuda are most likely not going to make the playoffs and the Sharks season is toast, I would like to see Danil Gushchin play out the string of games this year and see what he has. And that way he knows going into this offseason kind of that, like, just like we talked about with Bordelot and just like we talked about with Ekman, what, kind of build that confidence and know this is what I need to do to become an NHL player. That you see that shot, that NHL caliber shot, that thing is just lethal. Almost had another goal tonight. And then you see the vision. That's something that really impressed me, even going back to last season in his small time with, he played a few games with the Barracuda. That Barracuda team was devoid of talent. If you think this Barracuda team is bad right now, go back and look at the Barracuda team at the end of the year that lost 15 straight games, and go look at the players who are on that roster right now, and then go see where most of those players are. Most of those guys not kind of floating around anymore, but they've been Thanos, unfortunately. RIP. But you could see that vision and that playmaking, and I think it's such an underrated quality of Gushchin. The first thing you think about with Gushchin, you think about that shot, that lethal shot. That's he scored 40 goals in the OHL and dominated, and kind of dragged that Ice Dogs team to be, he was the best player on the Ice Dogs, the really bad Ice Dogs team. But you can see that like vision, and especially that Jacob Peterson goal. He gets the puck behind the net, and I don't know why more teams do not set up the power play behind the net. That's another conversation for a different day. But the patience he shows, especially for such a young player, right, where he had Bordelot open on the wing, he could have just passed it to Bordelot, and you could have just kept the puck moving. But he waited for a second, and he saw Peterson kind of moving towards open ice right in front of the slot, and he makes a beautiful pass to him, and kind of as he's drawing the defender away from where Peterson's going, kind of draws the defender, makes the pass, and Peterson finishes it off. Gushchin's going to be special, man. I think we might be looking back and be like, how did Gushchin get to the third round type of player? like he might be really, really special. And he's got some stuff he has to iron out defensively and stuff like that. But you see, he is willing to work in the defensive zone. He back checks. He will kind of figure that stuff out. I think playing him with a guy like Couture right now, and Couture is having a really underrated season, I think. But letting Gushchin kind of play out the rest of the season on the Sharks. I'm sorry, the Barracuda, that you go and continue to fight for a kind of an uphill battle for a Barracuda who are gonna miss the playoffs, or let him kind of see what he has in the NHL. I think he's been one of the Sharks' best forwards when he's been out there, and you notice him basically every time he takes a step on the ice. So, also, I want to talk about Peterson, who it looks like the Sharks might have really found something with him. This might be one of those win-win trades where Scott Reedy's really kind of done well for, the Texas Stars for them, but Peterson just looks like a guy who kind of fits in with the Sharks, and could be a perfectly, a really good middle six guy who can play on the power play. Again, I know the Sharks power play tonight has been kind of a mess, especially with Hertl leaving the game. But Peterson, again, just you're kind of starting to find some of these guys and see where they fit in. And a guy who was kind of buried in the Stars system right now might have found a home in the Sharks. And I don't want to say an Alexander Barabanov 2.0, but I'm not saying it out. You could just kind of see a lot of the same stuff from Peterson. And, again, he's much younger than Barabanov. And I do love me some Swedes, but I think he could be just another kind of diamond in the rough guy that you find and let him kind of find his role on this Sharks team going forward, especially, going into next year, where I think there's going to be a lot of positions open in the forward department. Would not be surprised to see Peterson cracking the open night roster next season. So I think you have to feel really good about the kind of the contributions from the young guys. I thought Bordelot had a solid game. He kind of got shuffled around, especially after Hertl went out with an injury. We'll get into Hertl a little bit more here after the break, but I think he's just more noticeable at center. And I've talked about this before with Bordelot, where I think just him playing center and just having guys around him who can kind of, do other stuff, and him just kind of being that facilitator, I think that's his best role. And I know right now, when healthy, Hertl, Couture, Sturm, and then Lawrence, it's going to be tough for him to kind of take a spot away from one of those guys. And I think Lawrence has really had a really solid end of the season here. But if Hertl's out for any point of time, and if Hertl's even iffy right now, I would just hold him out until he's 100%. This could be a chance for Bordelot to maybe get a run at center. We saw how well he did with that last year on kind of playing that third line center with guys like Noah Gregor. And having a Gregor, Bordelot, LeBanc line, sign me up. That sounds fun. So before we continue, now we're going to talk about Hertl's injury, talk about Couture, going to talk about, of course, Erik Karlsson. Do want to take a quick break and talk to you guys about our friends over at Indeed. When you're drafting your fantasy team, do you ever wish you could handpick the best stars for your business team? If you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is a hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do all that with Indeed. And Indeed, they're going to make it really easy for you. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows that you're growing your business. You have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applicants or applications that match your must-have job requirements. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon to start hiring now. Go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application. Pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. All right. Now we'll move to the grizzled vets. So Carlson, another point tonight. 96 points, needs 4 points in the last 5 games here to crack the 100 point. I know the turnover in overtime was brutal. Definitely trying to kind of force a play that wasn't there. That's what happens when, you have the puck on your stick all the time. Kind of was a desperate play, and we've seen Carlson make plays like that. That led, Bordelot couldn't handle it. Carlson, you would have liked to see him maybe kind of eat the puck for a little bit there. But again, you can't really get into board battles in overtime. He was kind of put in no man's land there where he was by himself, and instead of trying to do something else with it, he tried to get it back to Bordelot, who was kind of a little bit out of position. And the next thing you know, the puck is boom, gone. Nathan McKinnon. He's pretty good at hockey. But Carlson, though, continuing, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to get to 100 points. I think his Norris trophy, this is his Norris trophy to lose. I know people are going to point to the plus minus. Oh, he's minus 14 or minus 15 or whatever his, plus minus is right now. One, plus minus is a garbage stat. So he was a -1 tonight. So there you go. So he's minus 15 now or whatever. Plus minus is a garbage stat. You could be doing everything right and poor goaltending like the Sharks have had all season long, or somebody else makes a mistake and then you're getting dinged for that -1. And Carlson, of course, makes his fair amount of mistakes. Again, when you have as much usage as Erik Karlsson does, guess what? You're going to turn the puck over. And when you're asked to do as much as Erik Karlsson does, you're going to turn the puck over, and that's bad things are going to happen occasionally. But again, perspective. So the Sharks, Kaapo Kahkonen has the second worst goals saved above expected this season at -23.6. So that's a fancy way of saying basically Kaapo Kahkonen should have saved 24 more goals than he actually did this year. And then James Reimer, who's 17th. So he's kind of out of 102 goalies who played this year. He is 17th. At -6.7, so basically James Reimer should have saved about 7 more goals than actually expected this season. So when you have bad goaltending behind you, guess what? Bad things are going to happen. And even look at the rest of the Sharks. Again, if you want to play the if you want to play the plus minus game, here's the rest of the Sharks defensemen this year, and it's not pretty. So I'm pulling it up right now. Plus minus leaders, Henry Thurin in his 2 games, he's plus. All right. I'm sorry, I'll pull up by defense here. Matt Benning, -15. Nick Cicek in his 16 games, -7. Mario Ferraro in his 66 games, -26. This doesn't even include tonight's games. Erik Karlsson, -14. Nikolai Knizhov in his 9 games, -3. Jacob McDonald, -8 in 19 games. Mark-Edward Vlasic, -11 in 75 games. And Radim Šimik, -9 in 39 games. So bring the same energy, right? Where's the Mario Ferraro? Actually, if you really want to play the plus minus game, Alexander Barabanov, who every Sharks fan thinks he's actually underrated, -30. So if you really want to play the plus minus game, Erik Karlsson's really good. He's asked to do everything on this team, and if you're going to point to plus minus, I'm sorry, buddy, you have better things to do. So. Kind of leads me to one guy who's having a really, really good season. I think a quietly underrated season. Logan Couture. Another point tonight. He is now up to 65 points for the season. If you had told me in the before the season, Logan Couture is going to have 65 points this year, I would have kind of said, wow, the Sharks are probably going to be making the playoffs type of situation. So, 2 points. So he's up to 66. My bad. He had 2 assists tonight. My bad. So he's up to 66 points this season. He has not missed a game. That's always been kind of the thing with him in the past couple seasons. It's been his health. And so, yeah, Couture's up to 66 points in 77 games. Like, he's just below a point per game player this season. Like, and it's been, I know he's played with Barabanov, but it's been kind of a rotating cast of wingers with him, you know, especially as of late with Barabanov out. It's probably, it sounds like he's done for the season. Any guy right now who's hurt might just be done for the season when you have 5 games left. But, you know, the defense, maybe not as good as we've seen in previous years. Did have a really nice play on McKinnon tonight to save a goal at the very end of the third period with a nice little stick lift there. But offensively, though, Couture, that was kind of the big question, was can Couture kind of refine that offensive game this season, you know, heading into the season, especially with the wingers that we've seen. Him and Gushchin look really good together, you know, and I think if you want to put Peterson or whoever you want to put with him right now, especially with if Hertl's going to be out for any extended period of time, Couture's really kind of found his role. And I think having a guy like Nico Sturm who can play more of that defensive role, that was kind of the issue the last couple seasons, was Couture had to be the defensive shutdown and then still try to provide offense, and letting Couture kind of pick, like, go provide offense has really kind of opened up his game for him this season. And it's a good thing to see. Now, Nico Sturm's still going to be here for a couple of years. We'll see what happens with Bortolo, where he kind of fits in with the Sharks going forward. But it's a good thing to see with letting Couture kind of slide back into that more offensive role. And I think he's really kind of shown, yeah, I know he's getting a little bit up there, but if you can maybe pencil Couture in for another, you know, a couple more 50, 60 point seasons going forward, that $8 million a year contract isn't going to be the worst thing in the world. So hopefully this isn't the outlier season that we see him kind of go back to a 40 point season where he struggles with injuries. So, but yeah, I think Nico Sturm has a lot to do with Couture's kind of bounce back year, and Alexander Barabanov as well. So we'll see with Hertl, though. You know, it didn't look too serious. He did try to come back into the game. They probably held him out for more precautionary things. That penalty, I think he was just very, very frustrated on a missed call. Looked like he got hooked in the ribs, so maybe he bruised his ribs. Again, I'm just speculating here. But I think we'll see with Hertl. I wouldn't be surprised if he's back for Thursday's game. I also wouldn't be surprised if he's missed a game or two with an quote-unquote upper body injury. So we'll keep an eye on that as the Sharks play the Avs again on Thursday. So before we finish up, we're going to look into the analytics, talk about Kaapo Kahkonen's night, who was I think the numbers don't do him justice for how well he played tonight. Faced an onslaught of shots. But before we do all that, need to take a quick break. Talk to you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. And NBA playoffs are almost here. Now's a perfect time to download the FanDuel app, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. You can bet on everything from money line to point scores and threes drained. If the Warriors-Kings matchup looks like it's going to happen, I think there's going to be a ton of offense, no defense. So that might be a lot of overs to start, at least in the beginning of that series. So I do like the Warriors in that series if that happens. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's finish up. Dig into the numbers here. So again, the Sharks 4-3 overtime loss. It looked like especially the beginning of this game where Colorado was just going to do Colorado stuff, and it looked like another onslaught was coming. But you got to hand to the Sharks, really kind of found their footing in the second half of the first period, and really kind of, again, this Colorado team is really, really, really good. And there's a good reason why they're the defending Cup champs and are going to be looking to make another deep run in the playoffs. But shot attempts 5-on-5. Avalanche 63-43. Shots for 35-24 in favor of the Avs. Scoring chances was even 28-28. 14-13 high danger in favor of the Avs. So Sharks, they really kind of found their way to at least make things dangerous for the Avalanche whenever they did get a chance at 5-on-5. Expected goals for 3.12 to 2.43 in favor of the Avs. And again, you can kind of look at the first period where the Avs had a 0.97 to 0.37 expected goals for. So Avs really kind of took it to the Sharks, and it felt like it was going to be a long. I had another episode basically kind of mapped out because I thought this was going to be a 6-0 type of thing. So I will save that for tomorrow. And let's me kind of dive into it a little bit more. So, but anyway, lines are going to be, I'm not even going to do the lines tonight because of the hot mess that it was, especially with Tomba. Like Danil Gushchin played with like a bajillion people. But I thought Kaapo Kahkonen, he had a really, really strong night again, especially for the onslaught that he faced. 42 shots, 38 saves, 4 goals for. Expected goals against was 3.98. So about even there. This is all at all strengths when I look at goalies. 905 save percentage, 381 goals against average, 14 high danger shots against, 12 high danger saves. Gave up 2 goals there. 13 mid-danger, 12 mid-danger saves, and then 15 and 14 on the low-danger ones, and that was the Henry Thrun one that got the kind of own goal from Henry Thrun there. So, again, the Sharks kind of did a good job of kind of crawling back into this game, especially when it looked like it was going to be a Avalanche onslaught. After the Sharks tied it up, the Avalanche kind of took things back, and kind of really put the foot down, try to win it in win it in regulation. But Kaapo Kahkonen was stood strong there. Interesting look at especially the ice time with everybody hurt and kind of, guys were kind of in and out of the lineup. Steven Lorentz got knocked out for a minute or two there, and Hertl only played 10 minutes. So Couture really led the way, 25 minutes and 7 seconds, most ice time period. He played more than Carlson. Had 2 assists tonight. So I think really strong night, like I talked about earlier. Bordelot had 17:33, played some, got 2 seconds of shorthanded time, but no, played. I think him playing at center just feels better, and I know it's going to be a little bit tough for them. Gregor 14-14, Gushchin 15-15, LeBanc 13-58, which was interesting. It felt like LeBanc was out there a lot more. I think he was just very noticeable when he was out there, had himself a strong game, and has really kind of found his good graces with David Quinn. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Sharks do with Kevin LeBanc. Steven Lorentz, 15-26. Jacob Peterson, like I said, really kind of finding his niche, 19-28 time on ice. Sturm, 17-06. Svechnikov in his first game back, 11-39. Understandable there. You maybe not want to overplay him. And then Zetterlund, 8-35. So interesting to see that. And then McDonald, who played mostly up he was playing on the forwards because they're literally out of bodies right now, played 12:56. For the defenseman, like I said, Carlson, 25 minutes and 4 seconds. Ferraro second with 22:37. Benning, 19:51. Vlasic, 19:58. Thrun, 18:23, and then Shimmick 16:40. Thrun didn't get a ton of shorthanded time, which again, not I don't think they're going to do that to him right now, especially when you have guys like Vlasic and you got Benning back in his first game back. Like you're going to kind of lean on those short-handed guys. You're going to kind of do the heavy lifting there. But Thrun, he just looks like an NHL defenseman. So you have to be excited about that. I know. Not good news for the Tank. Sharks are currently now 4 points. So Anaheim, Columbus, and Chicago all tied at 56 points. That's the order right now because of the tiebreakers. And then Sharks are at 4th at 60 points. I see people, they're going to pick 6th or 7th. Like the Sharks that have to win. So the next closest team is Montreal at 66 points. I know Montreal's been playing really poorly recently, but the Sharks would have to win 4 out of their next 5 games, and Montreal not get a point for them to kind of pass them. Same thing. Arizona is 6th at 67 points. Again, I know Arizona's played really bad recently, but again, it's just the math of they'd have to get 80% of their points to pass these guys in their next 10, next 5 games. So they can't catch Philly, who's at 71 points. They can't catch Vancouver, et cetera, et cetera. So they're going to be 4th. I think they're going to head into the draft lottery at no worse than 4th, just because of, again, the math of how many points you'd have to get points, and you'd have to get 80% of the points going forward. So yeah, big win by Chicago tonight. So Anaheim schedule, just as a quick reminder. So they play Edmonton tomorrow or Wednesday night. Edmonton's going to be in the second game of back-to-back there. They play Arizona, big one there. I'd say circle that one on Saturday. They play Colorado. They play Vancouver, they've been playing better, but they just played a couple weeks ago, and that was a 2-1 Vancouver win. So it wasn't like a blowout type of situation. Then they play LA, who might have everything kind of locked up by then. They might have their seeding locked up by then, especially since LA lost tonight. So a couple, again, you just need a couple wins here. Just need some points. For Columbus, they play New Jersey, then they play the Rangers, but then it's Philly, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. Pittsburgh has looked terrible as of recently. Very streaky there. So Buffalo has been very bad as recently. So you hope right there you can maybe steal. And like I've watched way more Blue Jackets than I'd like to admit, and they've looked pretty solid in a lot of these games. The Ottawa game that they won, even tonight against Toronto, they don't look horrible. So, and then Chicago Thursday at Vancouver. That's a circle that one. Seattle, maybe. Minnesota, who's going to be fighting for, they're trying to get a top seed. But then again, end the season, Pittsburgh, Philly. So it's Pittsburgh, Philly. We're going to, very much rooting against Pittsburgh, Philly to end the season here. So that's going to be it for me tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to look at the Sharks kind of roster, guys under contract, and look at where they kind of fit. Which guys are your kind of franchise cornerstones? Which are your quality players? Which are your kind of NHL average players, your replacement level players, and kind of your incomplete, and kind of see where everyone kind of fits in this bucket for the Sharks, and some of the work they have to do moving forward. So going to be a fun talk tomorrow, just kind of on the deconstructing the Sharks roster and kind of where all these guys fit. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. Go ahead and subscribe. And another quick thing, next week, 3 episodes for me, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then I'm going to be on vacation, so I will miss the last couple games of the season. Going to Zion. We've had this on the books for months, probably like 6 months. I knew the Sharks weren't going to make the playoffs. That's how I knew. I stuck with my take that the Sharks are going to be bad. But yeah, going to Zion, so there won't be episodes Thursday and Friday. I'll make it up to you guys with some extra episodes as we get into the off season, and kind of my calendar is a little bit more cleared, and I have plenty of content coming for you guys still. So, but yeah, it's only 3 episodes next week. I apologize in advance. Yeah, follow me on Twitter at MyFryHole. Follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at Locked On Sharks. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, leave a nice 5-star review. Write a little review. It makes me feel good. Had a really great one from a Canadian listener the other day. Just makes me feel good. So, and there's just some Devils ones in there we need to kind of push down as well. So now that we're safely away from the Timo Meier trade time. So that'll be it. Be back tomorrow. And until then, bye, friends.